All right, YouTube says I'm live. Hi, everyone. It's Gordon Causey coming to you live and unscripted as always. It is now 10:51 a.m. on this Wednesday, the 15th of May, and my video camera isn't working, so I can't see myself, which is what I am accustomed to. I've started to do this video twice and have deleted it. It looks like, for whatever reason, the video is working, but I can't see myself, which is just different for me. But who cares? I know what I look like. Anyway, I wanted to do a quick video talking about Vivek Ramaswamy and this woman, Ann Coulter, and an interview I saw. The reason I am doing this video is I only just found out about this thanks to someone who left a comment. I did two recent videos talking about racism from an old white male Canadian perspective, and someone left a comment asking me if I had seen this video of Vivek Ramaswamy and someone by the name of Ann Coulter, and I had not. And the first video I did expressing the views of an old white Canadian male on racism has garnered over 400 views in just a day and 1 or 2 days, which for me, this miserable, pathetic station has, that's large. I should let anyone who normally watches my videos, you may be wondering about the different background, the American Canadian flag. Normally, I do my videos in the evening at my dining table, and it works because I have a patio door in behind me, but it's dark out. But if I do it from there during the daytime when the sun is shining, the video quality is horrible. Everything is it's just too bright. And so during the day, if I do a video, which I do rarely, but on occasion, then I go into my junk room, what used to be referred to as the army room when I was in the military. Anyway, getting right onto it though. Vivek Ramaswamy, who is he? If you're watching this video, you likely know he was a nominee, or rather, he was running, not a nominee, but he was running for the nomination. He was seeking to become the Republican nominee for president. So he was running against, obviously, Donald Trump, Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, and those would be I think those were the four big names: Trump, Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, and Vivek Ramaswamy. He's an American entrepreneur. I would guess he's probably in his 30s. Very, very exceedingly articulate, a great orator, a very sharp intellect. But as the name would indicate, Vivek Ramaswamy, he is of Indian descent. I'm assuming Indian because he mentions that his religion, he is a practicing Hindu, or at least he espouses being a Hindu. And so, but he's an American born citizen, born in Ohio. And early on, I'm not sure when exactly he dropped out of the race, but sharp man, he realized Trump is going to win. He's realistic enough to realize that no one was going to stop Donald Trump from winning the nomination of the Republican Party. So why fight a battle that you're going to lose anyway? I mean, if the goal is to win, why bother running when you have pretty much zero chance? So he dropped out and he gave a full endorsement of Trump. I never watched a great deal of him. I watched some. I did watch him after he withdrew from the race. I watched a speech he gave endorsing Donald Trump. I had also seen him do a town hall meeting. I think it was in Iowa during their leading up to the Iowa caucuses, which is how they conduct their primary in Iowa. And I also saw him do an interview with, I believe the guy's name is Schultz. Andrew Schultz is a comedian. Sandy Sanderson says, "Hey, Gordon, good to see you. Good to see you too, Sandy. I appreciate having someone come on. See, there are two. The live chat is on. So please comment away." But getting back, so I'd seen a bit of this Vivek Ramaswamy, enough to be impressed by his intellect, enough to be impressed by his oratory, enough to be impressed with just his general outlook. I thought he articulated the best vision for the United States of America. I'm a Canadian, although I have the Canadian American flags up here. I've mentioned this many times, I spent a number of years growing up in the United States. I went through kindergarten, grade 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6 in the United States. So I have some American sensibilities about me, mind you, from the age of 12 on. Just we moved back to Canada permanently, Canadian born and bred, or Canadian born, spent almost 10 years growing up in the United States. So again, I have some American sensibilities, and Vivek Ramaswamy's political ideals certainly appealed to me very much. And then after he dropped out, gave his big endorsement of Donald Trump, and there had been some sniping back and forth between the two camps, between the two candidates, Trump and Ramaswamy. Ramaswamy buried the hatchet. He said, these are things that you say during the heat of a political campaign, but that Donald Trump is the best candidate, is the best candidate to advance American interests in the world, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And immediately after Nikki Haley and everyone had dropped out, people started to speculate as to who Donald Trump's running mate would or should be. And I saw an interview, and I'm trying to remember the guy's name. I think he's with Breitbart News. Steve Bannon might be the name. He was being asked, and he had said that his suggestion to Trump, that Trump had asked him his opinion, and he said Vivek Ramaswamy. And Trump had then reiterated to Bannon, or whatever that guy's name was, that, well, that's pretty much what everyone is saying. I'm going to read what Sandy is saying. I'm Canadian too. After the last 5 years, I don't trust politics or politicians. What's interesting, I find, is, when you look at the political machine is such that in Canada, you cannot, we could never have a Donald Trump type leader of this country as our most senior elected official, as our prime minister, someone who a complete rank outsider. You have to be part of the political machinery to rise to the leadership of the Liberal or the Conservative parties, which are the only two parties that have ever governed this nation. It's only been Liberal and Conservative governments. Sometimes the Liberals propped up by the NDP. That's happening now with Justin Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh. It's happened before, back in the days of Lester B. Pearson and Pierre Trudeau as well, where they had minority governments that would court the support of the NDP. But I'm going away from, I want to talk about this interview. I wasn't familiar at all with this woman, Ann Coulter, at all. I gather she's a lawyer. She seemed to intimate in the podcast with Vivek that she had done, that she had gone to law school. And she's an articulate individual, strikes me as being intelligent. And I'm going to say it flat out, also strikes me as being racist. She said right at the beginning, Vivek gave her a nice long intro, talked about his thoughts on what they would be discussing. She said, "Oh, I agree with so much of what you say. I think something to the effect of, I thought you were the best candidate with the best ideas running for the Republicans, but I wouldn't have voted for you." And she said, "Because you're Indian." And, in the marketplace of ideas, it's ideas that should count, not melanin. Vivek Ramaswamy is, if you look at him, you would expect to hear him speaking with an Indian accent, but he talks like he's from the American Midwest. He talks like he's from Ohio, which is where he's from. His parents are immigrants. Sandy Sanderson says, I look at Ann as a female Jordan Peterson. I wouldn't go that far. To be completely honest, though, I was not familiar with her at all. This is my introduction to Ann Coulter. I'd never heard of this woman before. And when there were discussions going on in the media about who should Donald Trump choose as his running mate, and with many people punting the idea of Vivek Ramaswamy being the running mate, I think that would be the best choice for a candidate, the person with the individual with the best ideas, the best, greatest ability to articulate a clear vision, and who's on the right side of history. Vivek Ramaswamy is it. However, I will also say this. If Donald Trump were to choose Vivek Ramaswamy as his running mate, he would lose. Not because of Vivek Ramaswamy's vision, not because of his intellect, not of his ability to articulate a clear, stated vision for the United States of America. He's got all the qualifications. The reason that Donald Trump, a ticket of Donald Trump and Vivek Ramaswamy would lose is because Vivek Ramaswamy is of Indian descent. He's not American enough for too large a segment of the American electorate, and certainly too large a segment of the Republican, card-carrying Republican Party members. The elections in the U.S., if it's Biden and Trump, I do believe that the election was stolen. I do believe there was fraud. There was fraud around these mail-in ballots. Everyone went to bed that November night in the year 2020. Everyone went to bed that night looking at Ohio, Indiana, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, looking at all these key so-called battleground states with Trump winning by 300, 400, 500,000 votes. And everyone went to bed going, okay, Trump's got it. And then woke up in the morning and were told, oh, well, a massive number of mail-in ballots came in and they were overwhelmingly voting for Joe Biden. And so it flipped. Indiana flipped. It had been Trump, now it's Biden. Pennsylvania had been Trump, now it's Biden. All the key battleground states that Trump needed to win, that whoever was going to win needed to win. These are what they call swing states or battleground states. They all flipped overnight from being in Trump's column, and they flipped over to Biden, all because of mail-in ballots. I do think it was fraudulent, but I still think it was a close election. And I think picking Vivek Ramaswamy as his running mate, even though he's the best choice, because a lot of Americans, and especially Republican Americans, hold similar views to Ann Coulter, that it would be a non-starter. He would simply lose because too many Americans, and to a degree, some Canadians as well. I don't think it's as bad here in Canada as it is in the United States, but it exists here too. There are still a lot of people who judge the book by its cover, and they're not going to look at the content. They're not going to listen to the talking points. They're not going to listen to the vision. They're just going to default and say, in the context of the United States, they're going to say Vivek Ramaswamy, not American enough. I like him. He's a nice guy, but he doesn't meet their definition of what a real American is. I will take exception there. I mentioned that I had seen Vivek Ramaswamy do a podcast with this comedian whose name I believe is Andrew Schultz. He's a young hipster, very profane, very funny, and he did a routine in Toronto absolutely trashing Justin Trudeau, which bravo. But I saw him, he has a podcast, and he had Vivek Ramaswamy on it, and they were talking about Vivek was talking about his campaigning and how he'd gone into a number of churches and how he thought the preaching from the pulpit that the pastor, priest, minister, whatever you want to call the faith leader, had perhaps changed the way that the liturgy, if you will, and the prayers based on his presence there. I think that speaks a certain degree of arrogance. He thought that because of his presence as a visible minority had altered the nature of the worship. And the example he gave was that at the end of a prayer, rather than just saying amen, the pastor said, "And all God's people say amen." And Vivek Ramaswamy was of the opinion that he said, "And all God's people say," I think he said that to include me as part of God's people. I don't think that's something he would normally say. Well, not that Vivek Ramaswamy will ever see my miserable, pathetic channel, but that's something tons of Christian pastors say. There's a song, and I can't remember the name of the artist, and all the people said amen. And all God's people say. It's standard in many evangelical churches and has nothing to do with the fact that a prominent Indian American or an American of Indian parentage was in the congregation. But this is something I think that white Americans and white Canadians as well have to acknowledge, is that it does exist. And while we don't experience it, someone like Vivek Ramaswamy, a visible minority, does. I was watching one reaction to this podcast interview. I was watching a station I don't watch that much. I'm familiar with it. It's called The Young Turks, and I don't like the principal guy on there. He's just a loudmouth, arrogant, and not particular. He's not introspective. He's not much of a thinker. He's a dog on a bone. He ascribes to a left-wing woke ideology, and he defends it like a mother defending her child, not intellectually but emotionally. And I don't like the Young Turks. But there was a discussion going on between a black gentleman and a white female, and they were talking about this exchange between Vivek and this Ann Coulter. And during her little opening dialogue, Ann Coulter said something to the effect of, she said, I love your ideas, Vivek. I love you that you're so articulate. She said, I can say that about you because I can't say it about Black African Americans because it's seen as being, condescending. And I think so much depends on tone, on how you say something, because not everyone is articulate. Vivek Ramaswamy is 100 times more articulate than I am. But then so are lots of people. Pierre Poilievre is massively more articulate than me. Barack Obama was more articulate than me. It's got nothing to do with race. But then there are individuals. George Bush was not a particularly loquacious, not a particularly articulate individual. And there are Black individuals who are not particularly articulate. It's got nothing to do with race. And there tends to be, unfortunately, because of experience, there are individuals who have a chip on their shoulder and are looking for things to take exception to. But anyway, that I just wanted to do a quick little video expressing those thoughts. Nothing more than that. Sandy, I don't look on what little I've seen of her. I've watched about half an hour of that interview, and I don't consider her to be a Jordan Peterson type at all. I find Jordan Peterson is far more interested in ideas than he is in the packaging around around those ideas. I don't think Jordan Peterson gives a rat's rosy rear end whether someone's Hindu, Jewish, Christian, Muslim, or whatever. What he's interested in is their thoughts, their opinions, their ideas. Whereas with this Ann Coulter, she talks at length about she actually said in the interview that if Vivek has kids and that they marry someone, a member of the DAR, which is the Daughters of the American Revolution, if she marries if one of Vivek's children, if he had a son who was to marry someone who's DAR, that she would vote for his grandchild in that case. Come on. Does ancestry matter that much? But anyway, those are the thoughts I wanted to put out there. And okay, Sandy says, I meant as highly intelligent. She certainly is that. I have, she is, I don't like her views. I find them very prejudicial, but she, and I do appreciate the fact that Vivek said something that I think both to her directly and in an interview I saw him giving on the exchange. And he said he said to her directly, if I can put it this way, you have the stones to say it out loud. And then he said on another podcast where he was being interviewed, he said, she has the spine. And I think too many people hold that view, but are afraid to express it out loud for fear of being shouted down. And unfortunately, you can't have a dialogue and you can't have an exchange and you can't have the free flow of ideas if you have someone holding their cards too close to their chest and not putting them on the table and telling you exactly what they think, feel, and believe. So at least she's willing to do that, which is fortunate. But anyway, as I say, normally I do these during the day, but on Wednesdays I'm typically off. So the next time I do one, I'll probably be back at the dining table out of what used to be the Army room with my Canadian American flag. So God bless. If you like, thank you for the like. If you want to subscribe, you're most welcome. And we'll do another one of these in a few nights. Talk to you later.